The following program is rated GE. It is suitable for general family viewing.
Well, in an era where divine intervention is very important, you find yourself getting into a space of spiritualism, but sometimes you really want to understand how healthy it is, or at what point then does it become manipulation. Today on Beyond the Limit, we discuss that, just getting to understand the essence of religion, and of course at what point it becomes cultism, and spiritual manipulation. So welcome on board. The lines are open for you too as well. Just weigh in as to the conversation. But as always, we have our doctors on a set to enlighten us some more on how you make sure that you at least balance that aspect. Get into that spiritual space, but make sure that there's a balance, there's proper understanding, and that it's a healthy space for you. Dr. Aris, thank you so much for creating time to be with us once again on Beyond the Limit. My name is Linda Alela, and I allow them to introduce themselves.
Dr. Jane Newto, Mind and Beauty Counseling and psychologist by profession.
My name is Rehab Gadhushi, a doctor in clinical psychology, lecturer at Mount Kenya University, Nairobi campus.
My name is Dr. Sarah Kemaru Mushai. I'm the Dean School of Social Sciences and the coordinator of Persons Enabled Differently at Mount Kenya University. In this program, I usually speak on how the society perceives matters. That's what I represent in this program.
Beautiful. And therefore, that tells you that the ladies that I have on set have the capacity to boldly speak to the matter that we're about to delve deep into. Just how then does one get to define spiritual manipulation? And are there notable examples as to how this then can manifest, perhaps, in someone's life, as to how they carry themselves, especially when it comes to the religious realm and the spiritual context? We begin with you, Dr. Rahab.
Spiritual manipulation, maybe let me first put a disclaimer. We are here as psychologists, not experts in religion. So that's a disclaimer. Even as we say that religious manipulation is a religious abuse, where people will they'll manipulate people psychologically with religious teachings for their own benefit. Yes.
So it doesn't matter what form of religion then we're discussing at this point, but it's just that spiritual aspect to it.
It doesn't matter what religion. Every religion has a manipulative angle. The proponents of different religions can use manipulation on their followers. They can be able to psychologically alter the way people think and put them in, in their own way so that they can use them for their own benefit, either financially, psychologically. They can manipulate them in every area of functioning. Yes.
Dr. Jane, I was going through the social media recently, and one of the reasons why we thought it wise to have this conversation is because there was something that was making headlines, or perhaps, it was making rounds and trending, that, it sounded as though it's more of kejeli, as you'd call it in Swahili, that, while the rest of the world is focused on, building themselves, making themselves better, Africans are focused on going to heaven. And probably there's nothing wrong with that. But then again, just to perhaps highlight just how much committed we are into different and numerous forms of religions, such that it ends to a space where then it manipulates us as opposed to, giving us a healthy space of living. What do you make of that?
It's true. It's true that some people live like they're not on earth. So you find someone goes to church from morning to evening, Sunday to Sunday, the whole month, the whole year. You realize that there's that deception that you are not living out of touch with the reality, that God put you on this earth for a purpose, to enjoy your family, to enjoy working and balancing, knowing that you are honoring the Sabbath and you are doing all the religious things, but in line with balancing with other life, the social, the spiritual, the financial. You are an all-round person, but you realize that some people fall on one side only. And that's why we say someone is living on earth, but they are in heaven already. So they are neglecting themselves, they neglect their children, their family. They don't have the concept of time. Yes.
Right. And you know, sometimes this goes to the level of society. But you get into a certain society, a certain community, and you realize there's so much engraved, you know, in some form of spiritualism that they perhaps, you know, look at people who do not subscribe to this as though they are falling short. Just how much does society then contribute to these spaces where then it ceases to be, you know, healthy spiritual living, and it becomes manipulation? Dr. Sarah.
We want to first also declare why is it that we are going this way in this topic. It's simply because we have realized that in a position where you're not having good spiritual health, then there's that entry point where you open for other manipulations. Okay. So, and it's good we also be wise that what is happening with unspiritual health that is not, you're not spiritually healthy, you're likely also to suffer mental health. And as a society, we need to be careful on educating people this kind of topic because we want them to be armed, to be empowered. So the community needs to have its position as far as manipulation, spiritual manipulation is concerned, because they are the consumers of it all. And I think we have seen it in this nation. At the end of the day, it gets back to the individuals. We have seen children suffering, we have seen women suffer, we have seen men suffer, and we have seen institutions suffer. And then it brings out even a bigger challenge to the wider community, where you hear people are not even going to school because they are thinking that the world is coming to an end. You hear people are not eating, they are not going to work. All those are things that we are finding are affecting our community. And what does that mean? It definitely goes without saying that even resources will be affected. The man hours that are used to seek those spiritual, in quotes, support, again becomes a challenge. So at the end of the day, the community is affected, and it's up for it should be the community now taking it up on how do we get to know the people that are doing this spiritual manipulation? How do we educate our people? How do we empower them? And I think we need to really target our young people, that as they are growing up, we need to see that they have the spiritual sounding of any religion that one may be coming from, any background that you have. Let the children be armed and empowered, because childhood faith is very important. And so as you grow up, you may not depart from the ways that you have been told are right.
Right.
Thank you.
So, and this is becoming normal or common. Sometimes then you want to ask yourself, what are the warning signs? How do you get to know that this is a danger zone that you're finding yourself into? Because most of the people will tell you they get into that space genuinely. You know, you are there seeking spiritual guidance. You have seen this man of God or this woman of God, or you have seen this person who subscribes to this certain kind of religion, and they're telling you, you know, this is the way. Somehow, sometimes things appear to be working for them, and therefore you genuinely get there with the hope that, you know, you're going to learn something about a God who is faithful to you and all that, only to realize that you're deeply engraved into a matter that you cannot root yourself out, and it is not healthy at all. Why is it so? Has the society failed in a way?
I don't think the society may have or may not have failed. Sometimes these are personal issues. You find people are lonely, so whatever come along, that idleness, they are gullible. They become easily targets. They are vulnerable to now anything that comes along. And you realize that people who prescribe to cults, they are very persuasive. You know, they are very kind, they are very good. So you are going through a lonely moment, or you are going through a loss of something, grief or something, and someone is so available, so good, and they are always they are offering you solutions. And this time now, that vulnerability can drive you to waking up in the morning and like, I don't think I'm okay. Yeah. I'm so much into this person. And that's how people drift. So you find you are now getting isolated from the normal life that you know, from your family members, because that is one of the catch-22, that you're isolated. When you are withdrawn, you know the devil uses divide and rule. Yeah. So you are now being ruled, manipulated very easily. Yeah. When you try to make sense, it doesn't make sense. Because cults don't allow creative thinking, problem solving. You are put in a container. It's like you're in a box where you can't breathe out or criticize someone or air a voice. So you are instilled fear that now you are already there, and coming out again is a problem.
It's a problem.
Yes.
What would be a concern is that even as perhaps certain persons would drive you into this space, they are using manuals, they are using books that get you convinced that maybe this is the right way to go. For instance, someone will come with a Quran, another one will come with a Bible, another one will come with a certain doctrine that, you know, people will subscribe to. And therefore, at that point, you are not capable to discern whether this is genuine or not. How then do you understand that perhaps we're almost crossing the red line, or we are okay? Because if I'm going to come to you with a Bible and tell you that this is what I am reading and I'm subscribing to this, you probably are not so bright at that point, at your vulnerable point, to discern whether this is genuine or not.
Well, human beings are spiritual beings. Yeah. And at every particular time, they are looking for a way out of their various issues that fight them in life. And especially when one is going through a difficult patch in life, they are looking for something, you know, to maybe to console them, to help them out. And so when this person comes with a spiritual writing, a Bible, a Quran, a Gita, or whatever other book they are bringing, and they are telling you, you know, this is how you should go through this and things will be okay. The easiest thing is for somebody to say, yes, I think then I need this, because you don't even have time to think about it, and especially at that vulnerable moment. And so you'll find that most of the times these people will get you at your very vulnerable moment. If you are told maybe it is a sickness, and you are told you will be whole if you give this portion. And you find somebody will take a loan, somebody will sell land, somebody will sell property and take the money, because they are told if you take this money to this place, then it will be well with you. And you know, because you are at that point where you really need help, you will give that which is being asked. Maybe it is later that you come to learn, I think I was spiritually abused, manipulated at this particular point.
Well, we take a quick break and we come back, perhaps just get to understand how are you supposed to be mentally stable enough to stay woke, to know that at this point, then something is amiss. Perhaps find help, talk to someone, ask, psychologists, do you suppose that this is the right direction to take? I know you could be having all these questions and all these answers running down on your mind. It is always important that we sit together and talk and discuss, and therein lies solutions. So we take a short break and then we come back to that. Welcome back to Beyond the Limits. During that break and during the chit-chat moments, Dr. Sarah called it a spiritual warfare. Truly speaking, this is a space that we are in as a society, and you want to struggle with yourself just so you land in a space where you think you are spiritually healthy. Sometimes you want to wake up in the morning and ask yourself, are you in the right space? Question all this that you've been taught, the teachings and all that. How do you get yourself to a space where you understand pretty much what you subscribe to, and of importance, you feel like you are in a healthy place, in your heart of hearts, you're convinced that you're doing the right thing. That's basically what we are discussing at this very point. As always, with our able doctors, we have Dr. Jane, we have Dr. Rehab, as well as Dr. Sarah. And we come to that point where the mental health is indeed a great factor. And before we even unpack the aspect of mental health, I think, Dr. Sarah, you mentioned something to do with just how the society, you know, is supposed to be aligned into all this welfare of an individual. And I asked, has the society fallen short of aligning children from that tender age, you know, to a certain spiritual tree that is a tree that flourishes, that is a tree that, you know, bears fruits, without them having to fall short or without them having to land into spaces where then you realize that this is spiritual manipulation? Have we failed on the teachings?
I would say yes or no, yes and no, because we find, as you have said previously, that within our Africa content, we are really ready to bring God in our lives. We are ready to bring that divine power into our lives, and so we are working so hard that we be aligned with the things of the kingdom. However, in one way or the other, we have also become very busy, and somehow we really have little attention to the things that go around us. And no wonder we finally find ourselves delving into things that are not spiritually making us healthy. The moment you find yourself, you're not connecting well with your parents, you're not connecting well with your siblings, you're not connecting well with your colleagues at work, and any other place, you're finding yourself, you're condemning every action. Ask yourself, am I really in the real world? Am I normal? Am I okay? And so from there, you can now desire to seek help and to know who else can come and be there for your aid.
Okay. Dr. Rehab, mental stability is crucial, I would want to assume. But then how does it align to spiritual growth? Because my assumption is that if the two do not go hand in hand, then perhaps you miss out on the process. I have personally gotten into a space where, because of the spiritual teachings, you find that your mental being is aligned to that 101%. Sometimes it feels like, is this really okay? Sometimes there are people who want to tap you and ask you, are you on track and everything? So when we look at these things and how they get to align, which is to alert the other that things are okay or things are not okay?
You know, once you get into spiritual manipulation, what happens is that one gets into the whole of themselves, you know, your mind, your emotions, your spirit, the whole of your being is into that. And what happens with spiritual manipulation is that you are captured. Your mind is captured. And you find somebody maybe was doing their businesses, but all of a sudden they have been, you know, derailed. And they are focused now into a different kind of line. And you might find a person that you thought were, you know, were doing okay, they were doing well. You might find them now completely different, and they're talking another language that even you don't understand. Maybe somebody who was close to you, a significant person in your life, you meet them after a while and they are speaking a language that you cannot be able to understand.
All right, so how then does someone stay woke? Are there certain resources that are available, perhaps for individuals who are seeking to get guidance and understand the difference between genuine spiritual guidance and manipulation?
So the first thing is to accept, self-awareness, accept where you are, make amends, and ask yourself questions. Criticize your pastor, the teachings that you have received. Sit down and look at them again. Read your Bible. I say, like, reading your Bible alone and reflecting, because sometimes you wait until we go on Sunday, you are told everything, and then you don't have time to question what you are told. Discuss it, like Dr. Sarah have said, with someone. Because through that, you'll be like, you'll have a retrospective. I don't think this is right. I think this is right. Make amends.
Wow, beautiful. And then one would want to ask, and I know I have asked this before, but then again I'll ask it again. Where then does society come in, and especially the religious entities themselves, in terms of making sure that they contribute towards discouraging manipulation? Because it's one thing for them to just watch you get into a church and comfortably allow for you to proceed. It's another for them to say, well, I think you are behaving different, and therefore pinpoint and call you to alertness that something is amiss. Yeah.
Yeah, leader, that's a good question. We want to say the society still has a lot. We need to be each other's keeper. You schooled with this person whom you are not able to see. You form a WhatsApp group, the person leaves. They don't want to stick there. I think we need to do a close follow-up. What is happening? Where are you? Yeah. You have been finding this person come to work, very punctual, very cooperating, and then all of a sudden this person sits on his or her own at a corner, doesn't want anyone to speak to them. As a colleague, I need to follow up what is happening. Yeah. And then I think the worst that happens with these manipulating individuals, they will keep you enclosed. They don't want you to interact with other people. Yeah. And they keep talking evil of your relative, your mother, your father, such that they are aware that you have no other person who can help you. The moment you realize that that indeed that what you have subscribed to is making you not get out of them, then you think there is need to know you're wanted. It's a red flag.
It's a red flag. And ladies, unfortunately time is moving very fast, but then this is very important, that point of realization is a beautiful stage, but the road to recovery is another. I'll take, for instance, the latest case that we have, Shakahola. At least that one we can speak of confidently, because then we have witnessed what has been happening. But you see some of these victims, or some of these people that have fallen captive, or have fallen prey, realizing that there's a problem here. But even still, they will not eat food. They will choose to stay in that state. Road to recovery is crucial. How do we get these people to accept, to accommodate this mentally and say, there was a problem here, but there's no problem. I'll eat my food, I'll be healthy, and then I'll find another church, or I'll find another, spiritual guidance aspect, or perhaps I'll just find myself back. Dr. Rehab.
Leader, some of these things that we are talking about are not as easy as we see. Yeah. For one, these people you see that have been pushed into fear, and they are scared. And like I said at the beginning, men, human beings, are spiritual beings. And we are so scared of the supernatural. You don't want to, to do something that maybe will make God angry. So you have been told in this cult that if you do this, God will be angry. So even when you want to come out, you are still worried of the fact that maybe my step will make God angry. So I had better go on with this thing.
All right, in about a minute or less, Dr. Jane, and this would be our parting shot. In Swahili, we say tahadhari kabla ya hatari, that look before you leap. Of importance would be, how do we stop people from even imagining of getting into these spaces that are not spiritually healthy? So how do we guide them? What are some of the preventive measures towards making sure that individuals or communities are safeguarded against spiritual manipulation as we close?
That is quite difficult, because a human being is an entity, and sometimes they make choices outside everyone. But a lot of awareness need to be created, like what we are doing here, leader. People need to know the truth, because actually the Bible says that at the end of time, the last days, there will be a lot of deception. Yeah. People will hate the truth. People need to be intentional in self-growth, yeah, knowing whom they serve, and even reflecting, why am I going to church? Why am I going for that fellowship? Why am I meeting this person?
I think this goes out to those ones that are seniors, because then if you're going to get the right way, for sure you will guide your young ones into the right way. It was great having you. That is all we had on Beyond the Limit. We look forward to see you again. My name is Linda Alela. Do have yourself a lovely evening.